we'll move on to the other one. The Pacers and the Wizards, the 9 and the 10 seeds right now. The Bulls are 2 games back of the Wizards. They have an outside shot of getting in. But for right now, it would be the 9 seed Pacers playing the 10 seed Red Hot Wizards. Kyle, give us the facts. Break that one down for us one time.
Yeah, so just in their matchups this year, we see the Wizards are 3-0 against them. And all of these games are in the past 6 weeks. And only one of them was really any competitive, but we do see a tale of just 2 different teams here. So the Wizards side, you see Russell Westbrook going off, right? 22 points a game, 13 and a half rebounds, 13 and a half assists since the start of April.
NMPG, Jake. NMPG. That's fine. Numbers cool.
And then you have Brad Beal, and you put those 2 together, and that makes up 45% of their points scored. I'm really worried about the Wizards' depth. And then the other side of the ball, it's just a completely different story. Sabonis, LeVert, and Malcolm Brogdon all going for 20, and like not 25, like they all just go for 20, and like it's crazy. And then you got guys on the bench. You got TJ McConnell's getting valuable minutes. Justin Holiday, who was a starter until LeVert came in, is now on the bench giving valuable minutes, and all of them can give you double digits effective shooting percentages that the Wizards just don't have. So you're looking at a really top-heavy team in the Wizards, and then just an all-around basketball team in the Pacers. And it's going to be an interesting matchup because on paper they're nothing alike.
Nothing alike, and the Pacers bring everything the Wizards lack.
Yeah,
good defense, pace of play, depth, like everything that the Wizards don't have, the Pacers have, and that's just a gritty, gutsy team. And I get with Russell Westbrook comes a lot of grit, a lot of just will to win, but they're so top heavy, and Russ and Brad Beal are going to give you 60 to 70 a night. Like, I have no doubt in my mind that if that matchup were to happen, that Russ and Brad Beal would have a hell of a game. Brad Beal's giving you 30, Russ is giving you a 25 to 30 point triple double. They're going to pop off. Who else is going to do what?
Yep.
Who else is going to do what? And then you're facing a Pacers team who's just consistent all around the board.
Yeah, but I don't think it's as one-sided as we're making it seem, because the Wizards have gotten to this point doing that. And I mean, you get one good game out of Roy Hachimura. You get a good game out of Thomas Bryant. Denny Avdia still waiting to break out. Maybe he has a game somewhere, 15 points. And you win this game. And this is the fun one because, right, this is do or go home. And the Hornets-Celtics matchup we just talked about, loser of that has a second try. The loser of this game, you go home, see you again next season.
And I think, like, I know it's super cliche, but the want it more aspect, truly, like throughout the past 12 games of the NBA season, you look at the games, if you're on a playoff team, a lot of the teams are coasting depending on their situation. So you get down to this one game playoff scenario.
A lot's on the want it more. The one game, a lot is on who wants it more.
Right. If all else is even, the who wants it more will be the differentiator. So I just have trouble putting faith in the Pacers. And I know, everything we mentioned about Washington is accurate. They have no depth. And they've really only been hot of late where they've made this charge. But the Pacers, it's just mind-boggling to me that they are not better than they are. Yeah. They have a combo guard who is like all-star level in Brogdon. You've got a scoring guard who joined them late in LeVert. You've got
also all-star level.
Right, all-star level. You've got probably an all-NBA level player in Sabonis. So I get
one of the best defensive players in the league, and Miles Turner, who also gives you valuable bench minutes, like a solid backup point guard, TJ McConnell. Yeah.
They miss him a little bit. He's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Yeah. TJ Warren, they miss a little bit, but I don't know. It smells fishy. They should be better than they are. Yeah. That makes me want to lean Wizards here.
You know why I'm leaning Wizards? Remember everything I said at the top where the Pacers have everything the Wizards don't? Throw all that out the window, because when we bring it to the aspect of want it more, like, I'm leaning more and more into liking the play-in tournament, because that was geared for Russell Westbrook. That's geared exactly for a player like Russ.
And for Brad Beal.
And for Brad Beal, too. Like a fuck it type game. Throw all rational rules of playoff basketball out the window and just give me one game of whatever it comes down to, whatever it takes. Yeah. If it takes 20, 20, and 20 just to win this one game, that's exactly what I'm going to give you. Like, that's not sustainable through a 16-game playoff. But for one, like, I could double down on Russ to just will me one win to get us in.
there's not many guys in the league that can actually play all 48 minutes at a
Yeah.
high level, and Russ is one of them. And you probably don't play him 48, but Russ is going to play 42 minutes in this game if it's a close one. And Brad Beal can go off. We talk about going off for 60 in a game that matters.
Yeah,
Brad
he can
Beal
do that.
is honestly maybe like a top 5 capable guy to do that.
Mhm.
Like I, I'm leaning Pacers because the lack of the three ball from the Wizards, and I'm sorry, in today's age of basketball in the
You
playoffs, you
need it.
have to be able to shoot the three.
You need it.
And somehow you have the fastest pace in the league, meaning you get the most possessions, but they've made the third least 3-pointers in the league. That scares me a little bit. But in one game, that doesn't scare me as much as it does in the whole series. I think this is a fun one. I'm not sure if either of these teams make the playoffs, but
Right.
I think it's a fun one because, as Jake said, the Pacers on paper should be the 4 seed right now, but
Mhm.
instead we have the New York Knicks sitting there. Like it's crazy.
But this is two completely opposite styles of play butting heads
Yeah.
against each other. This is a fast-paced run and gun team with the Wizards, who are the Pacers, who are going to slow it down and take the air out of the ball every chance that they get. So
Yep.
it's a war of the tide, right? If the Wizards can string together a couple of 20-2 runs, couple of 22-1 runs, and up the pace and just put it out of reach of the Pacers to where they can't slow it down, they got to get their possessions in. It's going to go the Pacers, or it's going to go the Wizards' way. If the Pacers make every possession long so that, there's no up and down pace of the play, the Wizards might struggle. It's just whoever dominates that pace, whoever gets it to their game is going to win. But I think it's hilarious that we keep arguing all this as if it's going to go down, and all this can be completely flipped on its head tomorrow. Like, we could wake up and different
Yeah.
teams could be there in this playing tournament. So
I
that's,
mean,
that's the fun of it, right?
the only thing that's really going to change here is the Wizards and the Pacers can get flip flopped. The Bulls have an outside shot at getting the 10 seed if they go 2-0 and the Wizards go 0-2 in their next 2 games. I'm not sure if that happens, but
Unlikely, right?
the Pacers and the Hornets could switch for that the 8-9 spot.
I actually think that would kind of switch things up in terms of how I view who's getting in if that
Yeah.
were to happen. Because then let's say I'm fading Boston. I'm going against Boston. Pretty much anyone who they're matched up against. I mean, realistically, the Hornets or Indiana. But in that second game, that changes things because now you're looking at the Hornets, who, as we said, are really good 3-point shooting. Boston struggles there. Or the Wizards are the number 1 team in pace, as you said, and I believe the number 1 team in fouls drawn or number 2 team in fouls drawn.
Yeah, they're up
Boston's
there.
lower third in fouls given. So that can be another edge for Washington right there that I don't think they'd necessarily have otherwise. So that's just my thoughts on it. Hopefully Boston loses both games. That would be so sweet. That would be sweet.
Okay. So real quick roundtable before we move to the Western Conference. Definitive answers on one who we think is going to make it. I know that the 7-8 matchup is pretty much locked in. But who we think is going to make it and who is going to win. I personally think we're going to see the Celtics and the Hornets. Give me the Hornets for one game. Give me the Hornets and Scary Terry and them for one game, and then if I get the Pacers Wizards, give me the Wizards for one game, and then they probably get swept when they face the Sixers in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm gonna take. I think Boston or the Hornets. I think Hornets win, right? And
Mhm.
whoever loses that game, I honestly think beats the next team, and I give a slight edge, like a slight shot to the Pacers. I don't think the Wizards are gonna go 2-0. Honestly,
That's true.
if the Pacers do get by the Wizards, I could see them beating the Celtics or the Hornets in that knockdown game.
I don't see the Pacers going 2-0.
Yeah, it's tough. I still think it's gonna be Celtics Hornets.
Mhm.
If I had to guess, if I had to bet, I should say.
Which
I
you
would
will.
bet-
Which you will.
Which
One.
I have.
Yeah.
you have.
Right.
I bet on Boston to miss the playoffs. So I get
All your arguments are jaded. All
Well,
your
you could hedge out
entire
right here.
Yeah,
At least your
you're
argument could be right.
right.
But they're jaded, James. But like my bets are based off of all the things that I'm saying. Not all the things I'm saying are based off of my bet.
But
So square's not a
all-
rectangle. Rectangle's a square. Some shit like that. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but even all the things you've been saying are jaded. There's no unbiased Celtics opinion. If there's a chance for the Celtics not to make the playoffs and you to make money, you're going to jump at it. It's exactly what you did.
Give me Charlotte making it in as the 7th seed, and then I will go out and take. I mean, I'm the only one who's going to be taking Washington here, right? Neither of you guys took Washington.
No,
Yeah.
I took him.
All right.
I took him
Oh,
to
James
go.
did.
I took him
Oh
Yeah.
to
yeah.
go to
All
go
right, then
2
I'm
and 0.
with you, James.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
gonna
take
take Washington in the 8th seed. Get
momentum. This
stomped by the Sixers.
NCAA tournament vibes. A playing team who
Yeah.
got really hot, won their conference, and you get to the round of 32 and it all stops there. Now you're playing real teams and you got to go.
Yeah.
All right, Western Conference now. Um, it's a little bit different than the Eastern Conference. A lot of things are actually really wild in the Western Conference. The Warriors and the Grizzlies right now are fighting for the 8 and 9 seeds. The Spurs are locked into the 10 seed. They clinched last night, and the Mavericks, Trailblazers, and Lakers all within a game, all in a game of each other of the 5, 6, and 7 seeds. That 7 seed, of course, is going to have to play in the play-in tourney. Of course, always the Wild Wild West, right? It happens
Yeah.
every single year, and this time, an unfamiliar face, and for at least the past 2 years, an unfamiliar face at the bottom of his conference, LeBron James. The Lakers right now in the 7th seed. They would be matched up against the Warriors, which is, get your popcorns ready, Bron, and Steph Curry. But Kyle, I need the facts on that because that would be the matchup that everyone would want, to be honest.
Yeah. The facts about this one is the Lakers are 28 and 15 with LeBron and 12 and 15 without him, and that's kind of all you need to know going into a play-in tournament, that this team can play when he's on the floor and they can't when he's not. When AD and LeBron are on the floor, they're 18 and 8, and the Lakers have the best defensive rating in the team, which actually surprised me. But they're going against a Warriors team that's hot, 6-1 in the month of May. Andrew Wiggins is somehow, playing to what we thought he could play, like 23.4, 5 rebounds, 52% shooting in the last 8 games. And since coming back from injury, we know what Steph has done, right? We talked about that 30-point span, but it's like 37 a game in the last 23, I believe he's played.
It's gross.
So the Warriors are coming in hot. 6-1 in the month of May. I think this is a tough one. I just don't see LeBron dropping a game in the play-in tournament. But
you want to talk about a will to win?
Yeah.
if there's one game to get, undefeated in elimination games. This is an elimination game in the playoffs. Playoff elimination game, right? Undefeated in those.
So we all agreed it's going to be a wrap if it's at least in the 7-8. If it's Lakers versus the Warriors, like bad luck Warriors, like get them next play-in game because
it's all fun and games to hype up. It would be a blowout if those two teams played, and the Lakers got healthy. AD and LeBron obviously came back. It would be a blowout. I don't think it would be particularly close if those teams played.
Yeah, I don't think so either, and I think we're gonna see this matchup. I could see the Lakers go 2-0 and the Blazers drop their game to the Nuggets, and maybe we see the Blazers go to this 7th seed. But I'm looking through all the schedules, and I know we talked about it before. And Jake, I thought you thought the Blazers might drop down, but I think it's going to stay the same. I think we're just going to see the 7-8 matchup.
And it's rough for the Warriors because I honestly like their prospects against Portland. Like, that's a team that they're very built to play against.
Yeah.
Same goes somewhat for the Mavericks, just in terms of both teams rely on 3-point shots. They like to go back and forth. They like to play up pace, and that's obviously plays right into Steph Curry's hands, where the Lakers are going to, sit you down, grind you out. Like this is going to be LeBron in the playoffs. We've seen it, umpteen times. So
I think if there's one team who really can't afford to go in this play-in tourney, it's the Mavs. If the Mavs could somehow stay in that 5-6, somehow inch out of the play-in tourney and get themselves in the actual playoffs to play someone in a series, I think they have much, much better luck if it's a winner go home situation, 1-game playoff. I think in a winner go home situation, someone is getting the Mavs. I think it's why Luka's so against it, why their whole team is so against it. In the back of your mind, dang, if I got to face one of LeBron James, Steph Curry, or Damian Lillard in a 1-game win it all type thing, winner go home type thing, I'm probably losing to all 3 of those superstars. So I'm trying to stay out of there as much as possible. But in terms of the Warriors,
set up, they're set up to play the Clippers right now too. The Mavs are get a little repeat of last year.
Right.
That'd be a fun series.
That would be a fun series. Paul George will have to prove himself again. But in terms of the Warriors, 6-1 in the month of May, that they're hot at the right time. Andrew Wiggins hot at the right time. Steph Curry obviously going out of his mind berserk. Is there a shot that the Warriors make some noise? They were, bro, a couple weeks ago, they were down and out. It was man, you might as well lock it up. Steph Curry don't get hurt. And now, like, they're one of the hottest, one of the hottest teams in the league. But they are 6-1 in this calendar month.
Yep. And if Wiggins keeps playing to the level he's playing at, I mean, we talk about LeBron in the playoffs. What about Steph Curry in the playoffs? Obviously, a complete different comparison, but
Nah,
Steph Curry comes alive in the playoffs, though. Maybe, I
nah.
mean, you're looking at a Jazz and a Suns team at the top of the Western Conference, who a lot of teams believe aren't the best two teams in the Western Conference, not even one or two, which I don't personally agree with. I think the Suns definitely are, but
Mhm.
Steph Curry goes into a 7 or 8 seed with Wiggins playing really well, with Draymond in the playoffs. I could see him making some noise.
Kyle, do me a favor. Don't put LeBron James and Steph Curry playoff modes in the same category.
I mean,
Don't
there's a
do
1 and
that.
a 2, right? And I
Don't
think
do
that's 1
that.
and 2.
So I think, it's like, bad luck Warriors, but realistically, whoever faces them in that second playing game, which we'll get to in just a bit here, I envision them handling whoever comes out of that game pretty thoroughly. And on top of that, whoever they end up facing, I guess it would be the Jazz, right? And the 1 seed, if they lose the first game, win the second playing game. Like, I would be pretty tight. If I'm the Jazz and the Suns, I'd be tight about
Mhm.
having to face LeBron, and then the other, Utah has to face Steph. Brutal.
If I'm one of these teams in the bottom of Western Conference, I'm telling Brown to pick on someone his own size. This is
I'm
this
writing a
is
letter to Adam Silver.
yeah.
Like, what
This
the hell?
this this ain't your fight. These you know what I mean. We're little fifth graders on the playground at recess. What you doing, big dog, coming out here and beating up on us? Like, go face Kawhi and Jokic and them. Like, we got big enough battles down here. But when you look at the weaknesses for these teams, the Lakers, it's weird because they were one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the league last year. And this year, the 3-point offense is abysmal, ranked bottom 10 and 3-pointers made, attempted, and 3-point percentage. And then the third most turnovers in the league. What's weird about them is they're still probably the first or second best defensive team in the league, even with all the injuries to LeBron and AD. They've maintained this big defensive status. It was
Yeah.
one of the biggest, if not the biggest, reasons they won the championship last year, is because they were the best defensive team in the league. So I feel like we shouldn't lose our confidence in the Lakers. I know I make a whole shaky baby video about them and everything, but we really shouldn't lose so much confidence in the Lakers because they maintain that defensive identity. That's really what won them the championship last year. It's still there.
Yeah.
And a lot of those stats are made this year by not having LeBron, not having AD. So
The
like, I'll be like,
defensive one isn't, though.
The defensive one is
It is
like
true, the
interesting.
defense.
But
defense
yeah,
one.
the
They
three-point
named it
and the
throughout.
turnovers, though, yeah.
You should
Yeah.
only take away the positive, which is, I guess, convenient to say, but it's true. I
It
mean,
is.
if you're able to excel without LeBron or AD, it's like, oh, great. That spells well for when we do have them. But we're struggling without LeBron and AD. Yeah, no duh.
Yeah, but think about
That's
where
like
they're
50 teams.
struggling. LeBron don't shoot threes. AD
But he
don't.
creates them.
I,
It's driving.
Yeah.
attempted.
Driving
Okay,
kick.
attempted is the big one. But of your percentage proportionally, you shouldn't be bottom 10 in made. Like, if you're still, I get you're not taking as much because the best creator of 3-point baskets in the league is out, but you're still taking 3-point shots. Still got 3-point shooters on your team. So like, I don't think they shouldn't be bottom 10 in made. It shouldn't have gone down that much.
Yeah.
That's not LeBron and AD.
Yeah, I actually think it's percentage is the big one because I mean, if you don't take that many, it's okay. Like you won't get the total made, right? But
Right.
percentage is where you got to make them. But to be honest, Lakers wise, no one's counting them out. I mean, the second the postseason starts, the regular season's out the window, and now you're sitting with a team probably has AD back, definitely has LeBron back, defending a title. I mean, throw the seed number away, everyone's gonna still be like Lakers could be a favorite.
Right. And then where the Warriors are weak and what they lack is the reason why they get smacked around in this game is they got no big men. Like, go
Yeah.
ahead, 35 plus year old Draymond trying to guard AD. That's fine. That's cute. Like,
Yeah.
Draymond, all world defender. That's great. But you're giving up too much size and too much strength, too much, physical dominance right there.
And I think Drummond would bully Wiseman. I mean, there's
Wiseman's
been
Who's
some.
who's not even out? Who's not even playing? So is he gonna be,
Wiseman's is he done for the year?
done for the
Yeah.
year? So
Yeah, it's
not
fine.
no depth, and the people who are there, like who Toscano Anderson,
Right, you got
coming
one
in
Toscano
6'9".
Anderson on the floor. Come on.
AD taking him out big. Least offensive boards in the league, ranked 23rd and 2-point field goals. That don't shock me. Like, hey, we live
Yeah.
and die by it, baby. the 9 and 10 seeds as we move down, the Grizzlies and the Spurs. First of all, let's clap for the Spurs because I'm very, very happy that they got in. Greg Pop got in. DeMar DeRozan is gonna get his flowers for a little bit. Got in.
Do we count it as
They got a
I think
shot.
you got to win to be like,
Okay,
we got in.
They're still playing.
I always parallel it to the NCAA tournament. Don't you say someone got in if they make the playing games?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's
they
tough.
got in.
I mean, it's just different.
Got a ticket
like, for
to
instance, like remember JJ Redick, like, I've been in the playoffs every year. Like if you're imagine you're JJ Redick and you are on the Pelicans and they make the playing game and lose, like I don't know if you can consider that as like I made the playoffs ever. Like,
Well,
is he
I don't know.
like
he on the Mavs right now? So
JJ would
right?
still
Yeah,
take
he's
that.
he's booked his ticket already.
He's booking it.
JJ
Yeah.
would take that.
JJ would definitely take that. But when we look at who they be playing, the Grizzlies, you got John Morant and them right in the 9 seed. So that's an interesting matchup. Kyle, I need the facts on that.
Yeah, and I've tried to be, with the facts, I've tried to be very, see both sides of this one, but I don't see both sides of this one. I think the Grizzlies are just so much better. I mean, the Spurs are coming in cold, right? 2-8 in their last 10, losing by an average of 11 points in those losses, and they're not that good of a team. I mean, 19th in offensive rating, 15th in defensive rating. You flip it to their matchup, the Grizzlies, 14th in offensive rating, 7th in defensive rating. Ja Morant's the big name, but you got 7 guys in double figures. And what people aren't talking about is that Jaren Jackson is back. He missed 56 games, but his minutes are starting to ramp up. He has the best per 36 stats on that team, which is a little misleading because he's only playing about 25 minutes a game, so they get slightly inflated. But he's going to be back in his normal role within a week or two. And definitely probably could see it in the play-in game. He's back in his normal role. And Jaren Jackson is the second best player on that team when healthy. So it's tough for me to see that, the Spurs having a shot. But I will give them their credit. DeMar DeRozan and Dejounte Murray are playing exceptionally well, even though they're 2-8 in the past 10 games.
I'm about to say, you paid this.
DeRozan's shooting 50%.
How'd they get in if they're playing? They're playing so bad.
Yeah.
How'd they clinch?
Yeah, DeRozan's shooting 50%. Shoot 21 points a game. Dejounte Murray's giving you 17, 7, and almost 7. But depth, we talked about it with the Celtics, but the depth of the Spurs is pretty bad right now.
I think
Jake, before you move on, Kyle, you're gonna answer something because you're really high on that man, Keldon Johnson, and he one of those rookies who shows spurts, but I don't think his ceiling or his plateau. Right, his plateau has been below the bar now, where he's starting to settle.
The thing about Keldon Johnson is he showed it out the gate, right?
Right.
He came out hot. A guy like Sadiq Bey came out hot, but when you look at those two now, Sadiq Bey kept it going. Granted, he's on the Pistons. He gets a lot more opportunity, and they stink. But the Spurs kind of stink too. I still like Keldon Johnson going forward, though. I mean, you could have a good rookie season and not make the playoffs your first year, especially because he's not the guy.
And you could have a bad rookie season and turn it around. We've seen it many times.
You're like
And another name in their depth is Lonnie Walker, who I'm happy for. I mean, not the depth you're looking for right now, but was not looking like the player he's looking like now that he was last year.
In the past, so excluding the game they just played against the Knicks as of this recording, their most recent game, 10 games before that sample size, they have a defensive rating of 121. To put that into perspective, the Sacramento Kings this year are the league's worst defense, and also the worst defense of all time by defensive rating, and they come in at 116. Over the last 10 games, Spurs defensive rating 121. Like they're playing the worst defensive basketball
of all
ever.
Time. Of all time.
Yeah.
Ever. You're telling me.
It's incredible.
A Greg Pop team?
Yeah, that's the thing.
They're done.
It's weird. Yeah, they're done.
Pop
I just think
they're done.
I want to give the Grizzlies their credit. This is a good team. I mean, they play good basketball. They're third in the league in assists. Third in the league in assists. All those guys in double figures I mentioned, and you want to label Ja Morant the superstar, but it's a team basketball. This is like how college teams win games, right? They pass the ball well, they play defense, and that works in the NBA to a certain extent when you don't have a superstar, which they don't yet.
It's funny. The past 2 playoffs have been geared for guys like Ja Morant too. Guys coming out of mid-majors. Last year, you had the bubble where it felt much like an AAU kind of everyone's in the same spot. We just came from the tournament type of feel. And now you get a play-in tournament, feel vibe, the one and done like the March Madness where he was at Murray State. His one and done started when his conference tournament started. If we lose, we're not going to the NCAA tournament from Jump
Yep.
Street. So like it's geared for him, and I can't wait to see him shine. But all signs point towards a smackdown from the Spurs. I really can't believe that a Greg Pop led team is playing such bad defense like that. Like that really boggles my mind. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was that bad.
So then it sounds like we're in agreement that Lakers win their first game, Grizzlies win their first game. So that would give us a consensus of Warriors versus the Grizzlies
Yes.
in the second play, or I guess the final play-in game.
Right.
Who you got?
In the losers bracket.
Yeah. And just as a consolation, say it is the Trailblazers. I think they beat the Warriors too. I think this is the matchup we see no matter what.
Right.
We see Warriors versus Grizzlies, and I'm taking the Grizzlies. I'm not going to lie. I like how they play basketball. But how is it a no, though? Because, like, no Wiseman, we mentioned, Steph would have to drop 50.
He's going
and
to.
The rest of the team. Yeah, but the rest of the team would have to play well, too.
Kyle, don't make me defend Steph Curry. Don't make me do that. You know what he's capable of. You know what he's been doing.
I actually
put his back against the wall.
Steph Curry.
Put his back against the wall against a young team and a head-to-head point guard young matchup. I just think he wins it. Steph Curry himself wins this game and then gets smacked around in the playoffs.
But if there's a young point guard that, proven himself to be vet worthy, it's John Morant. He's playing 5 years past his level right now. Maybe not in terms of stats, but just court decisions, all this other stuff. He's playing 5 years ahead of where he's at. I mean, John Morant is here. He is the one from that class that's a superstar right now. It's not Zion.
But is it to use Steph Curry is on LeBron level in the playoffs, right? Draymond Green in the playoffs.
But that's what I was gonna say. I don't think it's a Steph Curry argument. I think it's a team argument, and I think the Grizzlies.
I actually agree with you. Like, I agreed with everything you said until you said that Zion isn't on a superstar tier, which I think to the end of this year kind of proved.
I think that John Morant is the superstar. I was saying he was the one. Okay. Yeah, you're probably right.
I overall with this series, I do agree with you, only because like there's really no pickable matchup. If you're Steph Curry in the playoffs, you'll get a guy switched off and go after him. But, who are you switching? You go from John Morant to Dillon Brooks, who is a very solid defender. Mm-hmm. And then, it'll just be a clash of styles because it's very clear that the Grizzlies have an advantage in the painted area. You've got Valanciunas, who's a tremendous rebounder. You've got Jaren Jackson, who, as you said, is probably their second best player. So it's like, to me, it's kind of like a coin flip because you have to factor in just the Steph Curry going nuclear greatness factor. Yep. I'm going to be tuned in. If I had to pick, I'd probably pick the Grizzlies, but I could see it going either way.
We watched Steph Curry by himself beat teams like the Celtics, go toe-to-toe with teams like the Suns, beat teams like the Lakers, all teams that we would say would beat the Grizzlies, correct? All these teams we would say would beat the Grizzlies in a one game. Anyway, now we're shaking our head about these teams, and we would beat the Grizzlies in a one game tournament. I believe all those teams would.
But those are regular season games. That's a different scenario to me.
I guess, but I mean, these all happen. I'm picking the games that have happened in recent time span when the Warriors knew that they're trying to play for a playing game. These are the Warriors have been in the playoffs, for the last couple of weeks now, fighting for their play-in lives. And Steph Curry, that's when this barrage is happening. I'm telling you, man, the fact that it's one game and it's like my superstars got to go out there and give me one. No one on the Grizzlies has Steph Curry type potential to absolutely just have a game in a chokehold. And there's nothing you can do, no defense you can play, no timeout you can call, that this man is going to pull up from 35, 40 and cash him out. Like, it makes me mad saying it because we've seen it happen before. No one on the Grizzlies has that potential. Not one person. Not all five of them put together.
I need you to do something for me right now then, James.
Go ahead. What?
I need you to turn around and you're going to write Steph Curry, I'm on my Warrior.
Oh, yeah, because I really have the John Morant quote behind me. That's funny. And I'm talking about
Steph Curry, I'm on my Warrior. No, I think this is, out of all the games that could happen in this play-in tournament, this is the one I'd be most excited for. It's not, I sound very definitive in me picking the Grizzlies. Jake was a little more, indecisive, giving it more slack. But I do think this would be a tight, fun game. I can't 100% say I'm taking Grizzlies, but if I have to pick a team, I mean, you got to pick one, right?
It would be it would be the must-watch game of the play-in tournament. I mean, probably behind their game against the Lakers.
The
Like
Lakers, but
Mhm.
that's just show value.
Right.
Basketball value,
This
I'll
is
take this.
Much better.
Yeah.
They're gonna get smacked
It'll be
around by
fun
the
to watch.
Lakers.
It'll be fun to watch.
It definitely will be fun. I like this last question, Kyle. You put it in real quick. Which playing team in the West has a shot to make a playoff run if they do make it in?
It's the Lakers, but
If
I
the
mean,
other than the Lakers,
Other than the Lakers, I guess. Do the Lakers have a chance to make? I guess
Come on.
the word a chance.
Come on.
Right.
No,
Let me
they
stop.
do.
Let me
Other
stop.
than the
Let me stop.
Lakers, I think the Jazz are kind of weak as a 1 seed, not a weak team overall. So say the Warriors or Grizzlies, whoever wins that game could have a shot to beat them. But that's about as far as I would go.
Ain't that just about a bitch how the stars align? The Suns have this crazy breakout season. No one expects them to do it. They get the 2 seed. And who they most likely got to go up against in a 7-game series for the first round? LeBron James and Anthony
Well,
Davis and them.
you're rooting for the Denver Nuggets then against the Trailblazers. I think that game's tomorrow
Right.
because it could be the Trailblazers.
Which I'd much rather take that. So that's just a dead right there. The Lakers have the best chance to.
it's the
to make a
Lakers.
run.
It's so the
Yeah, it's the
Lakers.
Lakers.
Yeah.
We don't want to say the
It's
Grizzlies.
unfortunate.
Oh no,
It's
Kyle over there
unfortunate for
hype
the
on the
Suns,
Grizzlies,
unfortunately.
man.
They
Over
have
there,
a shot.
going
No,
crazy.
whoever gets the 8 seed has a shot. Whoever gets the 8 seed, I think, can give a series to the Jazz. It's a tough question. Think about the Eastern Conference. Is a team going to knock off the Nets or the Sixers? No. The West, they have a better shot, but playoff run? Like, I'm thinking Nuggets made it to the conference finals. I don't see that in any of these teams.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we move on to speaking facts, you brought up the Eastern Conference playoffs. If the Sixers play the Knicks in the second round, that 1-4 matchup, that's tough. No, the Knicks have absolutely nobody to deal with Joel Embiid. And you're shaking your head all confidently that's not tough.
It's
All right,
it's,
man.
here's-
All right, man.
It's not like okay, who would you rather play in the second round? Would you rather play the Knicks,
Knicks
or
or
would
the
you rather
Bucks?
play the Bucks?
I didn't say they
Yeah.
weren't the lesser of two evils, but it's still tough.
No, it's a gritty.
It's not.
gritty.
It's not. We
It's
don't.
Tom Thibodeau playoff basketball.
Yeah,
Gritty
man.
as hell.
Yeah,
But I want
man.
to see them over any other team. It could be the Heat have a shot to sneak into that spot too. I don't want to see the Heat. I guess I would rather see the Hawks than the Knicks, but
Everyone would rather. Yeah, that's.
I'd rather
a
see
given.
that would be
that's ideal.
That's cupcake. That's a walk. But I don't
cupcake
think
is
you.
correct.
Who would you rather see, the Heat or the Knicks?
The Knicks.
Probably the
Heat.
Knicks.
Probably the
I'm-
Knicks. Not crazy definitively, but probably the Knicks.
Probably the Knicks, just because of how well the Heat have been playing recently, and
Jimmy
they just
Butler
held
and the
Joel to 6 points, 2 rebounds, 4
Mhm.
turnovers.
Man, just
Yeah,
So,
and they made
let's
the
not-
finals last year. I mean,
I was going to
that-
say,
Right,
and Jimmy Butler in the playoffs, all that.